We're joined in the media center at this time by race director Lynn Carroll. Lynn, can you take us through the finish of that race?
If there's any way possible. Okay, we had an inch blank. We made 3 attempts at a green-white checker. We were on the 3rd attempt. Once you're on the 3rd attempt at a green-white checker, anything besides the green ends the race. So when a caution comes out, in other words, the next flag ends the race. So when the caution came out, that lap that they crossed the line under green for the restart was the lap of record for those cars. So we scored those cars the way they come across that green flag lap, minus the cars involved in the caution. Any caution that we have, the restart is by that car's last completed green flag lap, minus the cars involved in the caution. So the cars involved in the caution are brought back to the tail end because they were involved, and then the rest of the cars are scored according to the way they crossed the green flag.
Can you explain the loop? Yeah.
The loop?
Is loop data used to score late model stock car races? Like scoring loops, like a Cup Series race?
Yeah. The late model stocks do not use a scoring loop. Late model stock cars use the start-finish line. That's the only loop. We don't have near the equipment and stuff that the Touring Series and the Cup and everything do. So we've always scored just by the start-finish line. And that's their lap of record, so we don't have loops around the track and this guy made it here, so this is where he's at. No, we just don't do that with late model stock cars. We don't have the equipment.
What goes into the decision to not penalize Peyton and Josh, but then to penalize Layne Riggs?
We watch the situation. If a guy, the first car we penalized, he just made a bonsai move on the left side and piled out the car and drove them all up together. And if the car does an aggressive driving, then we penalize them if we think in our judgment they're at fault. They overdrove or they whatever, they were too aggressive. Some of the situations we had were beating and banging back and forth as much one as it was the other, But anybody that we felt went in there and just took some cars out, there was, some of the guys, they went in there so hard that if they hadn't hit a car, they was going to hit the wall. I mean, there was no way they was going to stop the car by going in so fast. So, it's a judgment call. But we also watched a lot of it on the video, rerun on the video, and see, And with the, I guess the big one was with the 99 and the 26 maybe. It's no doubt when you watch the video, the 99 comes right down into him. I mean, he just chops the corner off trying to cut him off, and so he did it to himself basically. So
the 10 to 15-ish minutes between the final caution and the decision to send CE across the line, what all went into that decision-making process? What all did you guys look at?
Okay, what we looked at the computer screen and the scoring system, and we looked at the cars that were involved, because we always record the cars that are involved in the accident. So we made sure that we had everybody in that lap the way they're supposed to be. Then we went back and took out the cars that were involved in the lap, and we took out any cars that we penalized. And in the last caution, we penalized the 2 car for aggressive driving. So he was taken out and put to the tail end of the lead lap cars, and that's where he finished.
So between the conviction that there was a lot of last-minute rules changing, the talk of gear rule changes, the weight rules, confrontations with drivers, Gilliland, and the way the end of the race played out, a lot of people are quite frankly calling for your job. What would you say to the field, anyone who said that?
Been doing this for 20-some years over here, and it's not an easy job to try to get that many drivers, that many cars to do what they're supposed to do and to get the competition as equal as we can get it. We weren't dealt this thing, well, we just had to play the cards that we were dealt over here. That's what I mean. We didn't make the rules on the engine. NASCAR made the rules on the engine. So we had to deal with it. We had never run that combination here before. The upgrade Chevy engine had never run here before, and the Harrington engine had never run here before. So since the weather helped us out and rained us out, the hurricane messed up our practice Wednesday before, so we didn't get a chance. Usually we get a chance to see how the competition is during that time. We didn't get that opportunity. So we come in Thursday, we're going to practice, do the practice day on Thursday. Didn't get the opportunity, you know. So then we had to come in Friday morning early and practice, and then make our calls, our judgment calls for competition off of that practice. So we did what we thought would make the competition as equal as possible. And we made adjustments. We told them we would keep making adjustments until we felt the competition was equal. I still don't feel like we were totally there, but we were very close, I think. I still feel like the Harrington engine had a little bit of an advantage, but it didn't play out that way because a lot of those cars didn't finish the race. You know, if we'd have finished with everybody that started, I feel like the finish would have definitely been different. You know, I feel like the Harrington still had a little bit of an advantage. But we did everything that we could to make it competitive, even making a change after qualifying, which is not a thing that we like to do at all. But we felt like after qualifying, we had, everybody showed what they had at qualifying. Practice, you don't always get a true reading, but after qualifying, they're going to do what they need to do to try to get on the pole, so you can pretty much get a true reading of what's going to happen. So after qualifying, we seen the first upgrade car was 13th position, you know, and so we felt like we needed to make another change. I got with Clay and we discussed it, and we did make a change that puts more weight on it. So that's how that played out.
A lot of the car store guys they're feeling especially slighted. The car store guys feel, many of them that I've talked to feel that some of the decisions that they feel are inconsistencies were made made against them because they run in that series and not in NASCAR sanctioned races. What would you say to them to kind of, you know, what would you say?
What would I say to them?
Yes.
We changed our system this year for a lot of the things that we do because we felt like it was unfair to them. We felt like by setting our garage stalls by national points, pit stalls by national points, tech line by national points, a lot of those guys don't run NASCAR, they don't have national points. So we've done everything by entry blank this year to be as fair to them as we could be. And when we got the entry blanks in, that's what we based our list off from, for who was in tech line first, who got to keep their number. All of that was based off of that. So I don't see how you could get any fairer than that. And any calls made on the engine or for competition, I don't care where they run. I don't care if they're NASCAR, they're Cars Tour, what racetrack they run at. Our goal over here is to make the competition as equal as we can, and that's what we try to do.
Okay, one more. You said you used a video to determine, you know, you watch video replays with determining, you know, for not penalizing Peyton Sellers and then penalizing Layne Riggs. So why couldn't we use video to determine that Corey Heim could have won the race?
Try that again.
You used video. You said earlier you used video to determine the, you know, when making the calls on Peyton Sellers and Layne Riggs. So why couldn't video be used to determine the finish of the race with Corey Heim and CE Falk?
Because The video we have here was what you were seeing on the screen. That's all the video we had. This race this weekend was run on a weekend where all of the NASCAR tours were run. We did not have access to the scoring system. We had to get scoring system from a weekly track, and we had to do a lot of things from weekly tracks because we did not have access to all that equipment. If we'd had access to all that, we could have had a start finish line camera. We could have had a lot of different things here, but we did not have that, and we have not had that a lot of times here before because anytime that it conflicts with the touring series stuff, we don't get that equipment because it's loaned to us through those tours.
But my question would be on that: if it's going to be a black and white call on the finish of the race and last completed lap, even though we had the finish of the Heim ahead of Falk on video, why aren't we doing a black and white call then on the two incidents? That would be my question on that.
The black and white call on the finish was by the computer screen. That's what we used for that. We didn't use any video on that.
Right, if you can, my question, in this day and age, I'm a little younger. In this day and age, if you can use, use a computer screen, but it's absolute the last completed lap, why isn't there an absolute? If you wreck the guy in front of you, you get sent to the rear. Why the judgment call there based on video?
I don't understand what you're saying.
In some sanctioning bodies, I'll kind of help out Andy here. In some sanctioning bodies, like the CRA Super Series, they have a policy where intent's kind of ruled out. So it doesn't matter if it's intent. If you wreck the guy and in front of you, then you go to the back regardless. And it's not a matter of a judgment call of what intent is because no one truly knows intent. So I think that's kind of what he's asking. So you're kind of having to guess whether or not there was malice or intent to crash.
Well, if we'd had video on all of it, there wouldn't be any. I guess you'd still call it judgment calls, but we'd have video evidence of exactly what happened. We've got multiple people in the tower watching the thing when it's going on, and we all put our heads together. I just don't say, okay, this guy done this or this guy done that. We have a lot of people up there that's watching the race and helping with the calls like that.
Transponders at the start-finish line determine the final finishing order.
Transponders at the start-finish line determine the finishing order of the race minus the cars involved.
Langley and the mic.
What can you explain or define what a completed lap is?
It's the driver's completed lap. So when they cross that start-finish line, that's their lap. That's their lap of record. So if you've got 10 cars that pass on lap 12, that's their lap of record, and the rest of them are on lap 11. They haven't completed that lap yet. So that's their lap of record. So they would go back to the last completed, lap, which would be lap 11 or whatever.
So you base the finish off of a completed lap, only by the leaders, not by the people who had not come by the line yet. So the entire field does not have to complete a lap.
The entire field crossed the line.
No, I'm just asking. I'm not asking you whether they did or not tonight. I'm asking you if that's what the basis is.
We base it off the competitor's last completed lap, which is a benefit to them because we used to go back to the last completed green flag lap. So in other words, every car had to cross that lap. If they didn't, we went all the way back. And the reason we changed that is, and that's the way the tours do it, the reason we changed it is because, 5 cars could pass other cars and then we'd have to put them back and they got to do it all over again because you had to go so far back, to do your lineup.
Okay.
So that's why we did that, to benefit the drivers and give them what they had, up to that point.
Okay. So just for clarification, you say that the entire field came by the line before the caution came on?
What?
The final caution, the whole field had taken the green flag before that? Yeah. Okay. And to Andy's point about video, we do have clear video that Corey Heim was leading. You guys have clear video that he was leading at the time of the caution.
That who?
Corey Heim, the 78, that he was leading the race at the conclusion, when the caution would have been.
When they come across the line, I can show you the sheet.
I'm not talking about the line. I'm talking about, you said earlier that you didn't have video to determine, but you do. You do have video that clearly shows Corey Heim as the leader of the race when they wrecked.
When they wreck, that's not our procedure. We tell the drivers in every meeting that we have, this is the procedure that we use.
I get that. What I'm saying is, you said that you would use video if you had it, but you do.
We're talking about two different things. They were talking about cars wrecking
No,
cars.
when he asked you specifically about the finish, you said if we had all the system and everything from NASCAR, if we had video, we would use it. But you do have video.
And we use what we have.
Okay,
But
so
we don't
Corey
change the
Heim-
procedure to use the video.
I mean, you do have video to use.
Any other questions?
Mike?
My one question was, what do we use to determine if a person is involved in a caution? And my example of that is on the instance where the two was set to the back, Peyton Sellers was completely sideways and stopped in front of traffic, got hit and turned back and started going again, and yet was allowed to continue wherever people ended in rather than having to go to the back.
If the car usually stops on the track, or if the car brings out the caution, if he is the cause of the caution. If we have to throw the caution because of him, then he is considered involved or is the cause of the caution. So if they stop on the racetrack, we have to bring the caution out for that, then they're involved in the caution. He takes off. Normally, when he calls the caution like that, he's going to be penalized 2 laps, and we did that to just a couple tonight for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll do one more. Sorry to finish it off, but I guess to Langley's point, could there be a chance at reviewing the final procedure in the event that we do have video like we did today to determine the winner based off of video replay instead of at the line at the end of the race? Could that be under review for
We're
the
not
future?
changing our procedure. If they change the procedure in the rule book to use all video or whatever and not use the scoring transponders, which everybody uses, then yeah, whatever their procedure comes up with, I mean, that's what we'll use. But as far as the procedure is right now, that's not the way it is.
Right,
So
that's what I
what's
meant.
the
Like,
thing-
could there be a chance at maybe reviewing the procedure for the future to be able to better utilize every tool that we had available?
Sure.
So I was on that. You just said when they, as in I'm assuming you're talking about NASCAR. Most tracks we don't have that ability at Carteret County Speedway. Southern National doesn't have that ability. Other tracks don't have the ability to look at video. That ability to look at the video to determine the finish was here tonight. So why should it be based on what we do here, where we have a more sophisticated system and having video, and the rules on it be based on what a track in North Carolina or Eastern Virginia who doesn't have that video? Why should our procedures be based on, in a big race like this, be based on what local tracks who don't have that ability can't do?
This procedure here is by the NASCAR rule book, the weekly NASCAR rule book. That's what we go by here. It's in the entry blank. That's what we use.
But again, my question is, we have here in Martinsville, there's a more sophisticated, you had the video. There is a little more sophisticated, and it is a bigger race. And the rule book is that way, and the NASCAR rule book, because they don't have video at Southern National or at Hickory Speedway. So why is Martinsville, which has video, making their rules based on what Southern National or Hickory doesn't have?
We're using the rule book. We're using the procedure that's in the rule book.
But if you can change the engine rules, why can't you change that rule?
I'm done.